So, when you think about Reddit, what comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's more than just a website, right? It's this massive, sprawling, and honestly, pretty chaotic social experiment that's been shaping internet culture for, almost 2 decades now. You've probably heard its famous tagline, right? The front page of the internet. But what does that really mean? How does a site get a title like that? And more importantly, what happens when a community that's built on, anonymity and all these super niche interests suddenly becomes one of the most powerful forces on the entire web? Okay, so let's break it down to the basics. At its core, Reddit is a social news platform. People, we call them Redditors, post all sorts of content. We're talking links, text posts, images, videos, you name it. And they post it to these user-created boards called subreddits. From there, it's up to the rest of the community to vote that stuff up or down, which is how things either get seen by everyone or just disappear. And the scale here, it's just mind-boggling. I mean, check this out. As of 2024, we're talking about over 101 million daily active users. That's not a small town. That's like a massive country's worth of people logging on, interacting, voting, and shaping the conversation every single day. So, how in the world did this front page get built? To figure that out, we've got to go back to the very beginning. Believe it or not, the whole story kicks off in a dorm room. It's 2005, and a couple of University of Virginia roommates, Steve Huffman and Alexis Ohanian, launched the site. They just got into the very first class of this now famous startup incubator, Y Combinator. And their growth? Absolutely explosive. I mean, just 1 year later, in 2006, it gets snapped up by Condé Nast. And then by 2011, it's spun off to become its own independent company again, a total whirlwind. Now, that crazy growth was really fueled by a system that's deceptively simple. So let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine that actually powers this whole ecosystem. It really all boils down to this simple 4-step loop. First, you submit something. Then the community votes on it, up or down. That voting is what determines if anyone sees it, pushing the most popular stuff right to the top. Then, of course, everyone jumps into the comments to discuss it. And if your posts and comments do well, you earn karma, which is kind of like a reputation score that shows your standing. But here's where it gets really interesting. Who actually runs the show? Well, it's this fascinating division of labor. On one hand, you have the admins. They're the paid Reddit employees who enforce the big site-wide rules. But the real day-to-day work, that happens at the community level, and it's run by moderators. These folks are unpaid volunteers who create and enforce the rules for their own specific subreddits. They are, for sure, the true guardians of these communities. And you won't believe the value of all that volunteer work. Get this. It's estimated that Reddit mods do work that's equivalent to about $3.4 million every single year. They are, in so many ways, the unpaid backbone holding the entire platform up. So you have this unique setup, right? User-generated content, volunteer moderation, and it has led to some truly incredible things. So let's switch gears and look at the good stuff, when this whole experiment creates moments that have a real impact on the world. And that real-world impact, it's just undeniable. Back in 2009, users started a Secret Santa gift exchange that just kept growing until it became the world's largest, even setting a Guinness World Record. Fast forward to 2012, and you have President Barack Obama himself doing a massive Q&A. And then in 2017, a single conversation on the site was literally the spark that ignited the global March for Science. Amazing. And beyond those huge world-changing moments, Reddit has all these quirky, beloved traditions that make it, Reddit. You've got the Ask Me Anything, or AMA, where literally anyone, from Bill Gates to Snoop Dogg, will hop on to answer questions. Then there's Our Place, this wild April Fool's experiment where millions of users work together to create a giant shared piece of pixel art. And of course, how could we forget Mr. Splashy Pants? Yep, that's the name Redditors voted for a Greenpeace whale to have back in 2007. You just can't make this stuff. But, and this is a big but, that same engine, that same crowdsourced passion can also have a really dark side. The platform's open, anonymous nature has, unfortunately, led to some major controversy and even real-world harm. Probably the most infamous example of this happened back in 2013, right after the Boston Marathon bombing. In all that chaos, a subreddit dedicated to finding the bombers ended up wrongly identifying several innocent people. One of them was a missing student named Sunil Tripathi. This quote you see here is from Reddit's general manager at the time, and it's just a chilling admission of how badly things went wrong.
Yeah, the Boston incident really showed the terrifying side of internet vigilantism, but it also pointed to deeper flaws in the system itself. See, that same upvote system that brings great stuff to the top, it can also create these powerful echo chambers where misinformation just gets amplified over and over. And that passionate user base we were just talking about, well, it can turn on the company in a heartbeat. That's exactly what happened in 2015, when a popular employee was fired, sparking a user revolt so big that the CEO actually had to resign. And this tension, this constant push and pull between the users and the company that owns the platform, it's become a defining part of Reddit's story. It all really came to a head in this huge, massive showdown back in 2023.
So what was the fight about? It was over something kind of techie called the API. Basically, for years, Reddit gave people free access to it, which let developers build all these amazing third-party apps and, really importantly, crucial tools for the moderators. But then in 2023, the company suddenly announced it was going to start charging these outrageous fees. And that one decision basically threatened to kill off all the tools and apps that a huge chunk of the community depended on every day.
And the community's reaction was, well, it was pure Reddit. Thousands of the biggest subreddits just went dark. They made themselves private in protest. Some, in this bizarre, hilarious twist, decided they would only allow posts that featured the comedian John Oliver. And during the next r/place event, users got together to draw this massive protest art aimed squarely at the CEO. It was, no question, a full-blown digital strike. But even with all these internal battles, Reddit pushed forward into a brand new chapter. And this one takes its chaotic, community-driven culture and drops it right into the middle of the world of high finance.
That's right. In March 2024, Reddit went public. And as of July 2024, its market cap is sitting at around $10 billion. The grand experiment is now a publicly traded company on Wall Street.
And this move to Wall Street, it really just lays bare the fundamental conflict that sits at the very heart of Reddit's future. Think about it. On one side, you've got the users. They see it as this anti-establishment, community-first space where the value is in real organic discussion. But on the other side, you've got investors who see a profit-making machine that's valuable for ad revenue and AI data. Users love the volunteer-led moderation. Investors demand corporate risk management. They're two completely different worlds. Which brings us to the one huge central question. Can a company that built its entire identity on being offbeat, quirky, and kind of anti-establishment, can it really survive the demands of Wall Street? Can this grand, chaotic experiment actually hold on to its soul now that it has to answer to shareholders? Honestly, nobody knows. But that's the story we're all going to be watching unfold.